Hello and welcome to the Global Scholar Gateway, your premier guide to study abroad. My name is Dr. Yaro, your host. And today I have with me one of those wonderful students who was able not only to gain admission to one of those prestigious universities in the United States, but he was also able to secure funding to pay towards his tuition. And let me begin by sharing my screen and provide some data about Ghanaian students. Our guest this morning is a Ghanaian student, and some data from the U.S. Embassy in Ghana indicate that for the second year in a row, Ghana ranks in the top 25 countries globally for sending students to the United States. According to the 2024 Open Doors report, Ghana now ranks 18th with a total of 9,394 Ghanaians who studied in the United States in 23-24, an increase of 45.2% and an all-time record high. The Open Doors report is published annually by the Institute of International Education, analyzing the number of international students in the United States. Ghanaians in graduate degree programs totaled 6,337, representing a 54% increase and making Ghana the 9th largest sender globally of graduate students to the United States. Ghanaians earned nearly 9.2 million in scholarships to more than 680 higher education institutions in all 50 US states. So that clearly indicates that Ghanaians are among the most mobile students on the African continent, but also globally. So, as I mentioned, our guest this morning is one of those Ghanaian students who was able to not only gain admission to a US university, for his state university, namely, but he was also able to secure some scholarship to pay toward his tuition. And without further ado, let me bring on Stephen. Hello, Stephen. How are you doing today?
Hi, Fatih. I'm good. Yourself?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to be on the Global Scholar Gateway. For the people who are meeting you for the first time, do you mind introducing yourself?
Of course. Thank you for having me. I'm most privileged to be here. So, as you rightly said, I am Stephen Asare Brako. I'm coming from Ghana. In Ghana, I'm coming from a very small little town in Ghana we call Achimetre, so which is where I had my primary education. And from there, I went on to my high school in Akim Swedo Senior High School, where I read general arts. And from there, I now went to the University of Cape Coast, also in Ghana, to have my undergraduate degree, where I studied economics. After which, I now had the opportunity to work with the Ministry of Information in the Ministry of Information in Ghana before I now joined for Hastings University to study for my MBA in finance degree. So that's the least I can say about myself. Thank you.
All right, awesome, awesome. So you mentioned that you went to the University of Cape Coast and you studied economics.
Yeah.
Why did you choose to study economics?
Yeah, so I mean, in high school, I was one of the good economics students in my school, and I really liked economics, right? So in our introduction to economics, we're made to believe that, of course, some countries are doing well, that is, they are managing their resources well, and the countries are developing, and others are also not doing well. But at the time, as a child, when I looked my when I looked at my country, Ghana, I realized that we had a lot of resources, but still Ghana was at the time still not as developed as you would want it to be. So I was a bit curious, wanting to know how having resources can transform into a country becoming an advanced country. So that actually motivated me to go and read more about economics in the university, and that is why I read economics at the University of Cape Coast, basically.
That's awesome. So the interest in contributing to the development of your country, Ghana, sparked that interest in studying and having more understanding of some concepts of economics and coming up with solutions to contribute to the development of the country. But you also mentioned in the introduction that upon graduation, you went on and worked with the Ministry of Information of
Mhm.
Ghana. Why, with a degree in economics, you went and worked with the Ministry of Information instead of, for example, the Ministry of Economics?
Yeah, so of course, I mean, first of all, the Minister of Information at the time was my mentor, technically, who was now mentoring me, and he had a degree in economics, marketing, commerce from the University of Cape Coast where I schooled, and had MBA degree in marketing, and he was the information minister at the time. And as information minister, I mean, the job was not just to communicate, but it was to also look at other things beyond communication. So some of the research we were doing for him bordered on economics and finance as it were at the time, giving him a broad understanding of what is happening within the economic sector so that he can communicate to some of those issues. So yes, I was at the Ministry of Information, but the work cut out for me at the ministry bordered on economics largely. So that is the lesson I can say about that.
Nice. You mentioned something that I kind of find interesting. You mentioned that you were mentored by the back then Minister of Information. One thing or one advice that I usually give students is that finding a mentor is critical in your not only academic journey but also professional journey. What are some of the things that you learned from your mentor, the former Minister of Information and in Ghana, and how did you benefit from his mentorship beyond you gaining an employment opportunity at the Ministry of Information in Ghana?
Yeah, so even before I actually joined the ministry, I mean, he was somebody I was looking up to because he had done commerce in the University of Cape Coast and had done MBA, which is more economics and finance, and at the time was doing media, and he was doing so well in Ghana. He was at the time, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, one of the best media broadcast journalists that we had in the country. So I was actually enthused about his versatility, that somebody who has studied economics or commerce and MBA could thrive so well in other fields as well. In fact, bringing to bear some of the things that he has learned in economics, because of course, as a media person, it wasn't only about issues that relate to communication or information, but they were also educating people on businesses, startup businesses, economics, how to manage your finance, and all of those stuff. So I was actually intrigued about the fact that somebody had studied a particular course and is striving in a different field, and in that field to bring into bear some of the things that he has studied as in his original course. So I was actually motivated by that versatility. And of
Mhm.
course, he became an MP, that is member of parliament for my constituency, which drew me more closer to him, working with him in the constituency. So, of course, after school, when he asked me to come and work with him, I was very glad to have had that opportunity because I had learned from afar that he was somebody who was so versatile and could
Mhm.
actually now be in a field that wasn't originally his field, kind of the thing that he have studied and us and do well, and even obviously bring some of the knowledge that he has studied into bear in that field. Yes.
Mhm.
So before meeting him personally, having the opportunity to engage him, I had learned from afar some of these virtues. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it clearly appears that you are a great communicator as well. I don't know if being close to that media person who became Minister of Information in Ghana contributed somehow to developing in you some of the communication skills that you have. Did you go to some radio shows or TV shows with him while he was still working in the media industry in Ghana as well?
Yeah, of course, but not at the time that he was working in the media industry. But I have been part of the debate society in school. I had been a student leader. I was the SRC hall president in the University of Cape Coast, which requires some certain level of communication because you are going to engage students. You're going to talk to students almost every day about issues, and you have to lead advocacy. So I learned most of my basic communication skills from the leadership roles I'd undertaken in school. And of course, I mean, getting close to minister at the time, he was almost all the time going to radio stations, explaining issues to the Ghanaian populace. So as he was doing that, I was also picking one or two things from the things that he was doing. So of course, yes, I built some basic skills in school, but working with him too also helped me to build on, I mean, on my skills, I mean, even further.
You just mentioned that you were a part of a debate club in Ghana, and you also served as president of a residential hall.
Yes, residential hall, yeah.
Um, well, what is the process for our viewers who might be interested in, being involved in those type of organization like the debate club and also being president of a residential hall at the University of Cape Coast or at any university in Ghana? What is the process, and how did you manage to get involved in those organizations?
Yeah, so I mean, so when you go to Ghana, man, we have when you go to the universities, we have residential halls in the university that house actually the students. And obviously, because these are students in these halls, they usually would need student leaders to now speak on behalf of the students because this number of students cannot actually communicate with the management of the school about some of their needs. So every year they roll out, I mean, an opportunity for people to put themselves up and contest for positions in various capacities. And I mean, if you win, that's first you have to sell yourself to the student. And when you sell yourself to the student that I want to serve you in this capacity, as a capacity, as president, as treasurer, as secretary, in whichever capacity that you feel that you can do, you sell yourself to the students. And if the student believe in your vision or your mission or whatever you want to champion for them, they will now vote for you in an election. So after they voted for you, you now become part of the student governing body where you have the opportunity to front the affairs of students or champion the interest of students. So that is how it is like. So within the academic year, they actually roll out an opportunity for students to put themselves up. So you just pick a form, file for nomination. After you have filed for nomination, if you go through the necessary criteria, you are now given the opportunity to go to the students and tell them about your vision for them. And these students will now cast their votes. And if they vote for you, you will now have the opportunity to serve in any capacity that you put yourself up for.
Wow. You were clearly not what I typically call a triangular student. Back in Ghana at the University of Cape Coast, you were involved on your campus. You held leadership responsibilities. You participated in debate clubs and built the type of profile that most universities overseas are looking for when they're considering, them for scholarship opportunities or even admission opportunities. So to our viewers in Ghana, this is the type of student you too should be. If you're watching us, if you're watching this recording, follow the path or the steps of Stephen. Be involved on your campus. Participate in debate club. Run for positions to be president of your residential hall. And I know that there are hundreds of different student clubs at the University of Ghana, the University of Cape Coast, and all the different universities that exist in Ghana. Look for the right information, be involved, build the type of profile that would help you succeed in your academic journey and also in your professional journey. Now, after some of the time that you spent with the Ministry of Information, then you decided to look for opportunities to study abroad. And you mentioned that you came to Fort Hays State University. Before we talk about your experiences at Fort Hays State University and overseas, what sparked that interest in studying overseas? Why did you decide to look for opportunities to go abroad and further your education?
Yeah, so for me, there were a lot of issues and a lot of things that actually sparked my interest. First of all, as I mentioned early on, before I actually went to the university, I was actually thinking about why some nations have resources and they are not developing, and why some nations do not appear to have a lot of resources, that is natural resources, but yet they are developing. So I have had that question in my mind, and I've been trying to figure out what the reason has been. So now having the opportunity to work at the Ministry of Information obviously exposed me to a lot of information and a lot of issues. So at the time, I realized that no, I want to now study further to now gain much understanding about some of these national issues that border on economics and nations development, right? So I was actually contemplating on whether doing the degree in Ghana or having to do it outside of the country. So I engaged my boss then, that is the Minister of Information then, about it, and he advised that the world is becoming the world is actually a global world now, and at a point in time you would need the global competitiveness to actually even compete, even if you are competing locally, right? So I mean, if you really want to further your studies in the field that I want to do, I can consider doing it outside of the country so that I can have other perspectives of the program I want to read or the concept I want to understand. So that is one of them. So from there, I also came to sit down and did some reflections and introspections of the journey that I've undertaken so far in my academic career. And I realized that, okay, I've done so much in Ghana. I'd been in school, I'd engaged broadly beyond academics, I'd been student leader, I'd done a lot of things. I've had a lot of experience when we take the Ghanaian context, into consideration. So I was like, okay, at this time, I think I would need other experiences as well. And I felt like, okay, I have to move out of the country and then go and read my master's elsewhere so that by the time I'll be done with what I want to do, I would have a spectrum of experiences and then broader, engagement with other things that would now shape me to understand what I want to do, in the field that I've chosen. So basically, it was to have a global competitive edge advantage, in the field that I am actually undertaking. That is basically the reason.
Yeah, having a global competitive edge. And as you mentioned, the world has now become a global village. And increasingly, companies, organizations, firms are looking for individuals who have that capacity, that skill to interact with people from different backgrounds, from different cultures, and choosing to study abroad, specifically in countries like the United States, Canada, the UK, where the world meets, on campuses, is a great way to develop that intercultural competency. And took the step and looked for universities, opportunities to study overseas, and you identified Fort Hays State University. So how did you hear about Fort Hays State University, and did you consider other countries as well and other schools when you were looking for opportunities to study abroad?
Of course. So, to study, a lot of things influence where you will go and study, right? So, one, friends would be there. One, maybe some special course or a course that you want to take, a country that will give you that kind of program and the program prerequisites and all of those stuff. So, for me, my influence to come to the US was one, basically a friend, because I was a student leader at the time. I made the decision that I want to actually study. I started reading about, originally, because Ghana was colonized by UK. Most of our people are going to UK to now study. So on top of my head was UK. I want to now read about programs in UK and go and read in UK. So in that process, I engaged one friend who is in the US and who now recommended that, okay, oh, US also would have a lot of schools here that would have the program that I want to come and read. And I can also look at, the USA, gave me a list of US schools, and I went through them, and I chanced on Fort Hays State University. And apparently, when I chanced on Fort Hays State University, I realized that I had a friend who was already here. Who knew me in school, and who I also knew in school because of my student engagement. We're in the same hall. So I now reached out to him. We had conversation broadly about the program and studying in the US, and I was convinced of coming to the US, and then I now engaged the process of coming.
So you learned about the university, about Fort Hays State University, through a friend who was already at that institution studying. Who was that friend?
Oh, this was Sani Abubakar.
Oh, Sani
Yeah,
Abubakar. Yeah, I know him very well. Shout out to him. I know that he's working with Amazon and getting
yeah,
ready to start a PhD
yeah,
program. So
yeah,
yeah, hello to Sunny if he's watching us
yeah.
at some point. So yeah, and that is also something that is true and backed by data. Usually, international students go where they have friends, where they know people, and if those friends satisfied with their institution, they are prompt or prone to recommend the institution to their friends who are looking for opportunities to study overseas. So I would also just say shout out to the faculty members, the staff members at Fort State University, who probably provided Sani with a wonderful opportunity, a wonderful experience, I would say, in such a way that he was able to recommend the institution to Stephen, who ended up choosing to study at Fort Hays State University as well. So, how was your experience during the application process and the admission process to Fort Hays State University? Your interaction with the faculty members or staff members in the international office, because coming as an international student, I know that you need to interact at some point with staff at the international office. What was your experience?
Yeah, so I mean, I actually applied to a couple of schools, but before I apply, I actually reached out to the program coordinator. So here in the Fort State University, I reached out to Sarah Patson, and I actually told him of my interest. I now told him of my background in economics and what I was doing at the Ministry of Information, and how that feed into wanting to read an MBA program, and particularly in finance. And he was particularly also interested in my profiling, right? So she now advised and recommend me to some information which I read, and when I was satisfied with the information, I now gathered my application and I put the application in. So after putting in the application, of course, now getting the admission, I now had to engage with the International Student Office, who also, I mean, helped me so much in a lot of things that I need to do, going for my interview, some of the questions, the processes, and all of those stuff before I now came here. So, of course, I had engagement with my MBA program coordinator and some of the officers from the International Student Office. Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah Patterson is very responsive. I have sometimes oriented international students who are seeking admission into the MBA program specifically because, as you mentioned, she's the coordinator for that program. And yeah, she's definitely very, very responsive. And yeah, shout out to her for the amazing work that she's doing with that program and serving our international students who are trying to gain admission to Fort Hays State University and the international office as well.
Yeah.
Were they very responsive as well? When you were trying to get your I-20 and some documents to be able to go to the embassy and get your visa and travel to the US.
Of course, they were. I mean, if I remember, if I recollect at the time, Sean Clark was at the office, who was now working, who was the person working on my I-20, and then Carol, and then
Hmm.
Manny, and
Yeah.
then Angie. Yes, so these were the people that I was constantly engaging prior getting my I-20, putting all the documents that I need to put together and going
Hmm.
for the interview. And I was occasionally engaging them, and they were very, very, very helpful in the process.
Great, great, great. That's great to hear, and I'm sure that they will be happy to hear that you were satisfied by the services that you received from them. Now let's talk about your assistantship that you gained. So you secured admission, you came to Fort Hays State University, and you were also able to gain a graduate assistantship. How was the process?
Yeah, so it was an interesting one because now when I found the program and I now put in the application, I had series of Zoom interview with Sarah Patson as well, who now I mean told me about such opportunities that I can apply for because I qualify, right? So he now told me that they are going to open application in February at the time. So I was just in waiting. So when they opened the application on Workday, I actually put in my application on Workday, and I was reached out by the management department who now interviewed me in Ghana. And after the interview, they now gave me the scholarship to come and be a TA while undertaking my program.
Oh, okay. So your assistantship was to serve as a graduate teaching assistant. Did you have
Yes.
any background in teaching in Ghana prior to coming to the US?
Yes, so in Ghana, I was taking what we call it internship, which is also the same here. So in the university, when I go back home, I usually teach in my community college. I went there to teach them economics and help the students with some of those things. So I mean, I had some teaching skills, and at the university too, there are some courses that I was good at, and we have group studies and those kind of things. So some of those courses I teach my colleagues. So I had some sort of experience teaching people about things that I know about. And beyond that, when you engage as a student leader and when you are an active student in school, because of your engagement with people and always helping them, you tend to know how to technically manage people or help people out. And all those experience can translate into you being able to deliver in a classroom. So I think those are the experience that I had. And it was at the back of that I mean the Department of Management actually hired me to come in as a GTA on that scholarship.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, you kind of leverage on your previous experiences teaching or helping students as a student leader to secure that position at Fort State University as a GTA, graduate teaching assistant. And sometimes some people have also been. I've had here some people who came and served as GTA without any previous background in teaching. And as you mentioned perfectly, you don't have to have a background in teaching actually to secure those kind of position. I had a banker, for example, from Nigeria who was admitted at Fort State University as well, and who was hired to serve as a graduate teaching assistant when he was completing his MBA as well at Fort State University. So even if you don't have a background in teaching and you are watching this video, do not kind of self-censor yourself and be reluctant to submit your application for such positions because yeah, as Stephen has mentioned, and as I've mentioned, I've had people on this platform who were able to secure graduate teaching assistantship without having any previous background knowledge or background in teaching at all. So submit your application, and the worst thing that can happen is just to tell you that we don't have any position available at this point. But do not look at positions on campuses and decide not to apply because you feel like you don't have the profile that it takes to serve in that capacity. Submit your application. You never know what is going to happen. And as I said, the worst thing that might happen is to just reject you, and you would simply look for other opportunities in other departments on campus. And I should also mention that beyond graduate teaching assistantships, Fort State University offers graduate assistantships simply, not teaching. So in those kind of positions, you will simply be working with different departments in different capacities. You can, for example, work with the international office. You can be answering phones, sending mails, or helping orient new international students. You can also serve sometimes as graduate research assistant. Fort State does not have a lot of those positions because it's not a research institution, but you can work with some professors in, for example, the Department of Biology and conduct some research with them as well. What were some of your responsibilities serving as a graduate teaching assistant, Stephen?
Yeah, so in the Department of Management, they would assign you to a faculty member. So they assigned me to a faculty member who has also been very instrumental in my studies in the Fort Hays State University. He is Mr. Thomas Lippe. So I would usually grade students' papers, grade students' assignments. I would also help him in some in-class activities. Sometimes, I mean, I teach, sometimes I understudy him teach, and sometimes he will give me some courses to also teach. That is, if I have the capacity and have the understanding to actually deliver it. So technically, these were my responsibilities. Beyond that, the department also organizes some programs. So as GTA, we help the department to put those programs up. We assist the faculty member who would be organizing the program, and we are just assisting, making sure that the program is well undertaken. Yes. So those are the responsibilities I was doing as a GTA.
Nice. So helping the professor grade papers, and sometimes you would also have the responsibility to teach some of the courses that he was teaching. So that's kind of amazing. It's an amazing opportunity. It prepares you to embrace the teaching profession at some point. If you develop the interest in becoming a college professor, those are opportunities that you can take advantage of and build the skill, the profile to becoming a university professor or teach at some point somewhere in your career. So now let's talk about your overall experiences at Fort Hays State University. What was your experience on campus with the campus community and the Hayes communities as well?
Yeah, it's been, I mean, it's been a wonderful experience here in Fort Hays. I generally like the environment because it is generally peaceful. It's a generally serene environment. So I mean, there is that, I mean, serenity. So you can read at any time. In fact, I remember when I came in my first semester, I usually would come to campus and read, I mean, in the midnight, and then go back to my apartment and all that. And there is that peaceful serenity. So that is one thing for me. Beyond that, the faculty member. In fact, when we came in as students, the ISU office, actually, no, not the international student office, took upon themselves to make sure that they integrate us well into the school, and that was very, very wonderful thing for me, because during that particular course, we were made to understand a lot of things that you can do as a student. I mean, some of the IT tools, how you can get used to it, the library, and getting used to some of the facilities here in school. So, I mean, the faculty members, that is from the international students office, were helpful, and then my faculty as well. They take time to teach, and because the class ratio to the professor is not that large as compared to Ghana, the lecturer would have time for each student, and I mean, they give us relevant reading materials. I mean, they take the opportunity to teach us well, to make sure we understand what we are doing and all of this. So it's been a wonderful experience when I look at the academic side and beyond the academic side. Faculty, wonderful faculty members, wonderful staff on campus who are readily available to support students, because we are international students, and sometimes it's a bit difficult navigating this path. And I think it's been generally wonderful
That
in
is
Fort Hays
awesome.
State
That's
University.
wonderful, wonderful to hear. So you mentioned a couple of things that I would kind of reinforce here. You mentioned serenity or safety, what I call safety in Hayes and at Fort Hays State University in general. Because one of the things that a lot of parents and students actually ask me when I travel to recruit is safety. Parents are concerned about safety in the United States in general because everything that they see on the news and on social media, gun violence and issues related to racism and so on and so forth. And what I usually tell them is that in Hayes, we don't see any of those things. Or we also see them actually on social media and on TV. It's a very safe community. And I usually tell them that sometimes I can go to work without locking my doors, and I would go back home and find everything in place. And issues related to racism, we also don't see that. We don't get to see that. At least personally, I haven't experienced it. People tend to be very nice, very friendly. I was surprised, for example, when I first moved to Hayes, while driving to campus, sometimes I would see people waving at me in their vehicles as well. So people are generally very, very nice, and it's a very welcoming community. And you also mentioned the small class sizes at Fort Hays State University. Usually it's around 18 to 20 students per class. And as you mentioned, that definitely contributes to improving the quality of the education that is provided at Fort Hays State University. The professors get to know you by your name. you get the chance to raise your hand and ask questions. And as I said, that definitely contributes to increasing or improving the quality of the education that is provided at the institution. And you also mentioned the International Student Office that provided, orientation to help
Yep.
new students integrate not only the campus community but also the Hayes community in general. So one of the things that Fort Hayes does very well is to pick up all international students from the airport. The first day you land in Hayes, we will pick you up from the airport and drop you at your apartment and pick you up the next day or the same day to the grocery store for you to buy some of the stuff that you might need immediately before the university starts operating fully, the restaurants on campus and so on and so forth. So the international office is definitely doing an amazing job welcoming new international students and helping them integrate the community. And you also mentioned faculty members. They are very helpful, very, very helpful. I've spoken with a lot of students from Fort Hays State University, and what they've mentioned, a common theme is that faculty members they make themselves available to their students. They have office hours where you can schedule an appointment and go talk to them about issues that you might be having in their classes, and they would, listen to you and provide the type of support that you need to make sure that you succeed in the class that you're taking, that you succeed overall in your academic journey here at Fort Hays State University. And one thing that I also usually share with students is that they should use faculty members to find conference opportunities, because they are the ones who know about conferences in your field. So asking them about those opportunities, asking for opportunities to go with them to those conferences and presenting at those conferences is very, very detrimental in your academic success, but also your professional success. Because those are the places, conferences, they are the places where you meet professionals in your field who might be able to open doors for you when you graduate and you're looking for internship opportunities or employment opportunities. If you limit yourself to just going to classes, getting all A's, and graduating quickly, yes, you might graduate quickly, but you might spend some time finding an internship or finding a job after graduation. Because yes, if you are what I call the triangular student, you go from your door to the class, and from the classroom you go to the restaurant, and then from the restaurant you go back to your door. You're not making any significant connection that can be beneficial to you once you graduate and are in the employment market. So make sure that you make good use of your faculty members, of your professors. They are here to help, and they are definitely willing to help you. So what were some of your involvement as a student at Fort Hays State University? As we mentioned, in Ghana, you were very much involved. You were part of the debate club. You were president of residential hall. At Fort Hays State University, what was your involvement?
Yeah, so obviously beyond the academics, I had the opportunity to be a TA in my department, which involved a lot of activities beyond the classroom, beyond teaching. I mean, beyond that, I was also part of the ISU, that is the International Students Union, which I was an active member of it. We usually have engagement, we have meetings, we discuss a lot of things, we have programs, I mean, and all of those stuff. And then obviously too, I had a lot of friends who were in the student global student union, and usually had about us on organizing programs for students, that is student engagement. I was also most of the times helping them. So these are some of the engagement that I actually did. And beyond that, too, my faculty member actually used to be part of a committee that organized Oktoberfest here in Hayes. And every year I volunteer myself to be part of that team and help them in organizing that program and in Hayes. So these are some of the things that I actually did in the course of my study.
Yeah, so great. You mentioned that as a student at Fort Hays State University, you did not limit yourself to just being a student. You were involved and you served as a GTA, graduate teaching assistant, and you were also an active member of the International Student Union. That is the club that gathers all international students from all over the world at Fort Hays State University. And we have currently students from more than 50 different nations. So, and as we were also discussing earlier on, being a part of those type of clubs, is a great opportunity for you to network with people, individuals from all over the world. As I said, more than 50 different nationalities are represented at Fort Hays State University. And being involved in that type of club, yes, you have the possibility of learning about 50 different cultures. And again, companies, because we are now in a global village, are looking for individuals who have that ability, that capacity to interact with people from different backgrounds. If you're coming from Ghana and you know how to navigate the American system, you know how to navigate the Indian system. If you are sent or hired to work with a Chinese company in China, you can do it effectively. Um, you are very much competitive compared to some other applicants who might not have the experiences that you've had, thanks to the opportunity that you gain by being involved in the International Students Union at Fort Hays State University. Now let's talk about your major. You graduated with an MBA in finance from Fort Hays State University. What are some of your plans?
Yeah, of course. So, because of the nature of the degree, I would obviously want to have the American experience when it comes to the corporate side, right? So
Mhm.
now I'm looking on for opportunities to now actually hone my skills and the experience that I've had and what I've studied here in finance to gain some level of experience and then move on with the next thing that I want to do. So in the next year, I'm actually looking onto an opportunity to harness or probably put into use all that I've learned and the experience that I've gathered, particularly in economics and finance area. Yeah.
Okay, so currently looking for opportunities to implement some of the theories that you've learned in your MBA program. And to any company that might be watching this recording, Stephen has proven that he has leadership capacities. He has some knowledge. He's clearly a great communicator as well, and he will definitely be a great asset to your company if you were to hire him. What are some of the companies that you've identified and that you've been applying to so far?
Yeah, so I've applied to Amazon, I've applied to Deloitte, some investment banking companies, and some insurance companies as well. Yeah, so these are the
Yeah,
areas I'm looking at.
I know that Amazon hires a lot of international students. Sunny, that you mentioned, your friend that recommended for Hays State University, he worked with Amazon as area manager, and it's a high-paying job with Amazon. Have you looked into that type of position, area manager? I know that they're hiring in different states of the United States. I shared some of those positions recently with uh, another graduate from Senegal, actually. Have you looked into some of those positions? So look into those opportunities, and yeah, I'm confident that they're hiring, in very different states across the United States, almost all different states, all 50 states actually. So keep sending in your application, and hopefully you can hear something from them. We're getting close to the end of our conversation. If you were to give some pieces of advice to our viewers who want to build the type of profile that you have built, Stephen, you were very much involved as a student in Ghana. you were able to gain admission to a university in the United States. Not only were you able to gain admission, but you were also able to secure a scholarship, an assistantship that paid towards your tuition. What would be some of the concluding word that you would give to those students who want to follow your path as well?
Of course. So for me, as I said in the beginning of the of this interview, I'm coming from a very small town in Ghana, which is typically we call like a very small town, right? So rising to the level of studying in the US, obviously at a tender age, never came in mind. So what I'll say is that every dream is valid, right? So anything that you want to do is valid, regardless of your background, regardless of where you are coming from. Because my parents are just mere petty farmers, right? They are just cocoa farmers. But here am I following my dreams. I am here in the US. So what I would say is that everybody should follow their dream. Do not give up on whatever you want to do in this world because every dream is valid. Beyond that, I would want to say that education in itself really must touch the heart, the mind, and the soul. So beyond actually touching the mind by reading the academics and all the concepts and disciplines and subjects, you have to also put yourself up to be. I believe you, as a student, must also put yourself up to also make sure you are engaged and involved in studies, involved in school beyond the study, so that by the time you complete school, you won't be a half-baked bread just with academic focus, but you will be somebody that is well equipped to be a very competitive person in this global world, right? So that is one thing that I also say. And now having the opportunity to read abroad, I think is the best thing that has happened to me so far in my academic journey because there are some specific courses that I undertook. And because I was undertaking these courses with people from different backgrounds and different countries, I had, I mean, real hand perspective and how things are done in different countries. That actually shaped my understanding of the course that I'm undertaking. And that actually also deepened my understanding in these courses. So I would obviously encourage anybody who would have the opportunity to pursue their dreams abroad to follow it because it gives you a certain edge that you might not necessarily get in your country. I mean, to want to study abroad comes with a lot of things that you would have to put together. So you need the grit, you need the dedication, you need the patience. So if you try it once and it doesn't work, I would encourage and motivate that you continue to pursue it. And one day, just like all of us have had the opportunity to be here and study, your time will also come and you will have the time to also now live your dream of studying abroad. That's the lesson that I can say. Thank you.
That is very wonderful, wonderful words of wisdom. And I took note of a couple of things that I need to reiterate here. You mentioned that every dream is valid. I couldn't agree more. You can come from a small background, a non-prominent background, and make it to the top of the world. You can come from a family of farmers. You can come from a family of, moderate teachers in Ghana or anywhere in Africa. And your dream, know that your dreams are valid as well. You can just follow your dream and build the type of profile that it takes for you to accomplish some of the goals that you would set for yourself. There's a saying that you can come from a poor family. That's not your fault. But if you die poor, that is definitely your fault. And as Stephen has mentioned, that just sums it up. Your dream, know that your dreams are valid. And it takes you and only you to put forth some of the efforts that it takes to make your dreams come true. And you also mentioned that, deciding to study abroad builds or helps you build the type of profile that would make you very competitive on the global village that we're living in right now. And as we mentioned, a lot of companies today are looking for people who have that ability, that capacity to interact with people from all types of background. And choosing to study abroad is the right way to prepare you to build that type of profile that would make you competitive in the global world. And you also mentioned that education touches the mind, the heart, and the soul. So once you come to the United States, or you go to Canada, or you go to the UK, or anywhere in the world, in some of the prestigious universities also on the African continent, because you can move from Ghana and study in South Africa, or in Egypt, or in Cameroon, and so on, in Senegal, and so on and so forth. Once you gain that high quality education wherever in the world, make sure that you too give back to the world, help your community, come up with solutions to solve some of the issues within the community. That is how you too will, be able to mentor individuals. Like Stephen was mentored by the former Minister of Information in Ghana. Be a mentor to some individuals in your community as well. Help them find study opportunities abroad. Help them find jobs, and give back to the community. That is how we will build a peaceful world and learn to live together as human beings. That will be all for today. Thank you again, Stephen, for your time. And thank you to you who've stayed tuned with us so far. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please do so. That's going to help us grow. And it's also going to help us continue bringing some of the amazing individuals, just like Stephen, to share their experiences with you, so that you too can make your dream come true, that dream of studying abroad and that dream of gaining scholarship. Thank you so much, and see you next time. Bye-bye.